world, and thanks for joining us today at our second live broadcast of International Masterclass series at World of Music and Arts in Vancouver, BC. My name is Anna Vavilova. I'm a pianist and director of WMA Academy, and today we are hosting an artist from Houston, Texas. Houston is one of the most popular cities in Texas, and it is one of the fewer cities in USA that has professional, permanent, resident companies in theater, opera, ballet, and music. Houston is attracting a lot of musicians, and it is a home of an Grammy Award winning symphony orchestra, Houston Symphony Orchestra. And today's guest artist, Boson Mo, he is a member of this award-winning orchestra, and he is serving there this season as a second violinist. As usual, we are broadcasting this event on two medias, on Zoom webinar and on YouTube live stream. Our channel on YouTube is World of Music and Arts. Feel free to join us there, comment and ask questions that I will relate to our guest star artist at the end of the masterclass. And without further ado, I want to introduce our event organizer, Vancouver most sought after violin teacher, violinist, my friend, my colleague, Alvin Tran. He is the organizer of today's event, and his students will be featured today. And I am really looking forward to this event. And without further ado, I'm switching to Alvin.
Thank you, Anna. Hello, everyone. My name is Alvin Tran, and I'm a violinist and music educator based here in Vancouver, BC. And I'm so thrilled and honored to have Boson Mo as our guest clinician for today's masterclass. As mentioned, Boson is a member of the Houston Symphony, and prior to his appointment there, he was the acting assistant concertmaster here in Vancouver at the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra. He was also the third prize winner of the Michael Hill International Violin Competition, among others. And a little fun fact, he was named one of the top 30 under 30 classical musicians in Canada by CBC. I first met Boson when we were both performing with the Vancouver Symphony a few years back, and I was amazed by his artistry and his generosity. So I'm just so happy when I talked to him and asked him if he would be willing to join, that he said had a willing yes and was looking forward to hearing my students. As mentioned, if you have any questions for Boson about anything you might hear during the masterclass or anything about his musical life, feel free to use the Q&A function on Zoom or the chat function on YouTube. And without further ado, let's please give a warm welcome to Boson Mo. Hi, Boson.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Anna and Alvin, for having me on here. First of all, it's a real pleasure for me to be listening to Alvin's students. I had a great time being his friend while I was in Vancouver, so this is really great. I get to hear his students. As you just heard, I am currently here in Houston, Texas, in the Houston Symphony. It's really interesting time to be an orchestral musician. We are incredibly fortunate here at the Houston Symphony to still be playing concerts. We are tested weekly for COVID, and we must wear masks. And most of our concerts are live streamed as opposed to with an audience. So yeah, we're very lucky. I'm very lucky, and yeah, looking forward to hearing Alvin's students.
Thanks, Boson. Our first performer will be Sophie, our first very brave performer. All of our performers are very brave because it takes a lot of guts to get on a platform like this and perform for others. She will be playing the first two movements from Eccles Sonata in G minor, and this is with piano accompaniment by Anna Vavilova.
Great. All right. Bravo, Sophie. That sounds great. Okay, so I'm going to start with just a couple observations and a few things that I really enjoyed. First of all, I really enjoyed the constancy and the reliability of your rhythm. Throughout, you mostly kept to a very steady pulse, and that's really hard to do, and I really enjoyed it. The second thing that I really liked was that you had a very straight bow overall, and you had very good contact point throughout. That's also something that I really enjoyed because that usually contributes to a really good, smooth, and even sound. Yeah, so I really, really enjoyed your performance. Bravo. Okay, so a few things that I would like to work with you on, and that mostly has to do with, yeah, actually it is throughout both movements. Would you mind starting the first movement one more time? Very good, very good. Okay, so it's a little different live compared to when you are recording it with the piano. So one thing that I would like you to think about a little bit more is subdivision. Do you know what subdivision is?
Yeah.
What's subdivision? Oh, that's correct, but I'm not asking about bow subdividing. I'm asking about rhythmic subdivision.
I don't know.
Okay, so rhythmic subdivision is a tool that most musicians use to stay very steady rhythmically. So instead of, so if you look at the first bar, the first note is a quarter note that's then tied to a 16th note, right? Here, instead of thinking about how long a quarter note is, in our minds, we can think 2/8 notes or 4/16 notes. So instead of playing just that first note, it feels kind of like, who knows how long it is, right? But instead, we feel. So we can feel the little notes inside the long note. And that really matters because once you get here, which is bar 5, it's very important to stay very steady in the rhythm because otherwise it's very easy to who knows how long this is, and then so can we try once more from the beginning but really subdivide the rhythm? Good, Sophie, that's already so much better. So from now on, when you play a piece, I want you to continue, especially when it's long notes, to keep thinking about subdivisions. So instead of thinking about just the long note, think inside the long note how many of the short notes there are. That way your long note will be much, much more precise. In orchestra, this is how we play together. Otherwise, it's very hard to guess how long a long note is. Yeah, okay. So another thing that I want to work with you on is just a little bit of intonation. Sometimes the intonation is not perfectly spot on. And I think there are a couple things that contribute to that. First thing, I think that you are hearing very in tune, which is very nice, but sometimes your hands aren't exactly playing in tune. Do you agree? Yeah, okay. So from here, it looks like your hands sometimes get a little bit tight. Is that right? Yeah, okay. So when you're playing, I'd like you to think a little bit higher fingers. It's very easy. Can you see me on the camera? Good. Okay, so it's very easy for our hands to get low on the fingerboard like this, and then kind of have our wrists a little bit on the side. Or you don't seem to have the problem of having the wrist here, but sometimes people have the wrist on the side, and that makes it very hard to play. If we can think higher fingers on the fingerboard, use the tips of the fingers to play, that will be a lot more reliable, and then you'll be able to replicate your intonation better. So if you look at me play, so I'm using the tips of my fingers always. Can we try once more from, yeah, let's try from the beginning one more time. Tips of your fingers. Very good. Continue. Keep going. Good. Okay, so if you look at bar 11, we have a piano crescendo through the whole bar until bar 11, right? Sorry, so bar 10 going to bar 11, we have a crescendo, right? Good. Okay, so how are you going to do the crescendo? How does one on the violin make a crescendo?
Bigger bows.
Bigger bows. Okay, what else?
Faster bow speed.
Faster bow speed, bigger bows. What else? Those are all correct. One more thing. Give me one more thing. What about a little bit of weight? Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of weight, right? And do we press when we want weight?
No.
That's correct. So we don't just press. It's not just by pressing. And it's a little bit more just scooping and kind of getting the string to ring a little bit more, right? To make a crescendo, to play a little louder. Good. So this crescendo, can we try that once more from bar 10, just right at the beginning of bar 10? And I'd like to see you use all of those things to do the crescendo. Good. I want to hear a little bit more crescendo. Good. That's already a lot better. Now, can we try using all the tools that we discussed? So you said using more bow as we crescendo. Good. So that means at the beginning of the crescendo, which we're still in piano, using less bow, right? So instead of using whole bow here, so if I used whole bow here, it won't sound like I have a crescendo at all. So if I did, it doesn't sound like I did a crescendo at all because I used the same amount of bow for everything. But if I started with less bow, now more bow, now even more bow. Does that make sense? Good. Can you try that once? Good, that's better. I want you to do it one more time here. Here. The top of the crescendo, I'd like you to use whole bow. Beautiful, beautiful, good. Okay, let's tie everything together. So let's go from the piano with really little bow. Your turn. Good, good. That's much better. Good. So these are some things that we talked about. So using more bow, using gradually more bow to get a crescendo. So starting with less bow and then using more and more bow to get a crescendo. Good. There's another tool. There's another way to achieve a very good crescendo, and that is also using contact point. Do you know what I'm talking about? What am I talking about?
Where the bow is on the violin.
Exactly. That's perfectly right. So where should we play on the violin if we want to play softly? If we want to play piano, where should the contact point be? Should I play over here, like next to the bridge, to play really softly? So, okay, so contact point, we're talking about if we're playing on the fingerboard or on the bridge, right? And anywhere between the fingerboard and the bridge. And by playing in these different places, we achieve louder or softer as well. So it's a combination of using more bow or less bow, using more weight or less weight, and also using a contact point of more of the fingerboard or more of the bridge. So if I play at the bridge, then I play really loudly. If I play it at the fingerboard, then I play really softly. Now, if I combine both of these things, then I get a really good crescendo. So if I combine using less bow and then gradually using more bow, using less pressure, and then gradually using more weight, and then using the fingerboard, and then gradually getting closer to the bridge. Can you try that once? Good. Let's do that one more time, and I want you to get closer to the bridge and use whole bow at the top of the crescendo when it's supposed to be the loudest. Good, exactly. So that's how we do a very good crescendo and decrescendo, by using all of these tools together. Good. Okay, can we go on to the second movement, to the corrente? Good. Awesome. Good. So let's think about the tools that we talked about earlier about playing loud and playing softly. So the first time it says forte. That means to play strongly, right? To have a bit more sound. So should we use a bit more bow and then closer to the bridge maybe? Good. And then the second time, hang on, the second time is piano, right? How should we do that?
Play with less bow and closer to the fingerboard.
Perfect. Let's try that and really exaggerate. Good. Okay, so I really liked your forte. Now, I know that you probably think, there was a little more noise than I wanted it to have. So this is where practicing comes in. Finding the best part, best sound that you can make close to the bridge and the right amount of bow. So oftentimes when we play close to the bridge and use too much bow, we don't make a very good sound. So we need to find exactly what's right. And then the second time, more fingerboard. So you can hear the difference, right? Good. Can we try once more? Forte. better. Now I really hear a big difference between forte and piano. So every time in the future when you play something forte versus when you play something piano, make sure that you do all of these things. That way it will be very, very impressive to the audience. It won't just be heard by you, but you'll be able to project that difference into the hall. Good. One little thing is when you play the chord, the first chord, make sure that you catch both the strings at the bottom. It's very hard to do. Can you try that once really slowly? Yes, that's already better. That's already better. Now, when you play on the G string, what should you do with your arm?
Move my elbow out.
I almost heard you.
Move my elbow out.
Yes, so move your elbow out and move your elbow higher. So if you don't move your elbow, so if I don't move my elbow, it's very hard to catch the G string and it's very hard to make a good sound. I will sound like this. It does not sound very good. But if I moved my elbow higher, I get to use the weight of my arm as I then go through the strings. Can you try that once? Yeah, good. Now when you get to the bottom of the string, try not to just press, but try to scoop it out, almost like you're scooping, like you're pulling with your index finger. Yes, exactly. Good. Good. Can you play the whole opening of the second movement? Good. All right, good. So the second time, the piano time, if you really, really want, the forte afterwards. In bar 9, you see that there's a forte. So if you really want the forte to be very, very strong and very obvious, then make sure that the piano time is really, really piano. So just keep this soft. And then you can go, then you can play much louder. Can you try that once? Just the piano time and then go on. So notice this place, that place that your fingers got a little tangled. Do that one more time, just at bar 13, and stop. Yes, good. So if you want to make sure that your fingers don't get tangled, I would also think more fingertips. That way you're not so tense, and the less tense you are, the less you're going to get your fingers tangled. Good. Start there one more time and go on. Good. Good. Sophie, you sound really great. I just got the 2-minute warning from Alvin, which means our time is probably up. Bravo to you. You sound really beautiful. Keep thinking about these things, all right? Think about what you want to do in the music, and then think about how you are going to achieve it. So if you want to play forte, make sure you play with more bow, with a little bit more weight, and next to the bridge. If you want to play piano, play with a little less weight, a little less bow, away from the bridge. And there are different combinations of this where you can make different sounds. And then with your left hand, make sure that you really keep the hand frame very strong and play more on the tips of your fingers. That way you will ensure a better intonation and better reliability of your intonation. Do you have any questions for me?
No.
Okay, good. Bravo, Sophie, you sound great.
Thank you, Sophie. Wow, Boson, Sophie's dynamics just really popped so much more when she was thinking about those three variables of sound. So keep working on that, Sophie. Excellent. All right, so our next performer will be Rebecca, and she is playing the first movement of Haydn's G major violin concerto.
All right. Bravo, Rebecca. That sounds great. Whole first movement of Haydn Concerto plus the Kuchler cadenza. That's really good. Fantastic. All right. So let's dive straight in. So the last bar of the cadenza, that high G, that's a little bit of a scary shift, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a strategy for making that shift?
After you keep your original finger down to the
Yes, exactly. So using a guide finger. So what's really nice here is that the original note, this D, you can almost do. Can we try that? Good. So on the high G, you're using 4, right?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So instead of shifting to an E, which is what the second finger would normally be at if you were playing the G on a 4, shift to a D instead, and then just extend the fourth finger a little bit. Can you try that? So instead of doing, that's a little bit hard. If we do. Can we try that? Yeah, good. One more time. Good. Now do it without the guide finger. Or do it with the guide finger, but don't let me hear the guide finger. Yeah, good. Now do it with a little bit more confidence. Exactly. So what we're trying to achieve here is not just using our guide finger and not just getting the high note, because music is not just about getting all the correct notes, but it's also getting it with the right spirit, right? And we want that high note to sound really triumphant. So you got to practice it a lot with the guide finger, but eventually you're going to have to make that leap of faith and just play it. Can we do that one last time and then go to the end of the piece? good, very good. Okay, so these last few notes, those last 3/8 notes before the whole note trill, those 3 notes, are they part of the previous phrase, or are they part of the new phrase? Does it go towards the trill, or does it go away from the trill musically? Good. That's a valid answer. So afterwards, for me, it feels like it goes. It feels like. So it feels like it goes to the trill for me. Those. So can we? It should not feel. Rather, it feels. So can those 3 notes tumble more towards the trill? Yeah, exactly. One more time so it's more obvious. So on that up bow, use a little faster bow. Yeah, exactly. Now play that and then play till the end of the piece. Very nice. Good, exactly. So here we've talked about 2 things. First of all, how we make that shift, how we practice it with the guide finger really slowly, but then eventually letting go of the guide finger and just really nailing the high note. So it needs to feel like we're making that leap of faith. And then afterwards, what are the notes that we are trying to go to in the music? And then really making sure that our rhythm serves that purpose so that we're not just playing all the notes at just the right times, but rather the music should feel like it's going somewhere or going away from somewhere. So that way we have much better feeling in the phrase. Good. Okay. So let's go back to the beginning. Yes. Good. Awesome. Very good. Very good. Okay. So one thing that I noticed in your video, as well as now, is for me, it doesn't sound like you have a very, very good grasp of exactly how fast or how slow some notes are. So actually your rhythmic proportions are correct, but the notes that you run into trouble with are the 30-second notes. To me, you're actually playing them faster than you need to. So for instance, right? But when you're playing it, it feels like this. This feels excellent here. I'm gonna exaggerate. You did not play nearly as bad as what I'm about to exaggerate, but I'm gonna do that just to have some fun. So you did. Do you feel like that's a little bit true? Yeah. So actually, we should really think about how fast or how slow the notes are, because actually later on in the movement, it's really going to help you. So here, really think. Can you try that once? Really, really even. Exactly. That is so much better. That's going to be much easier for the orchestra when you play with the orchestra. That's also much easier for your fingers, right? Good. Can you play the next phrase? But think about that as you play those triplets. Good. Continue. Cool, Rebecca, that's very good. Okay, so you have a little bit of the same problem here. Okay, I'm totally exaggerating. You didn't do it nearly that bad, but just a little bit. And that's not so bad until here, because every time when you play that fast, then what happens is then this feels like it needs to be fast too, right? And then you just get faster. And then once you get here, what you do there is you return to the normal tempo that you've played at, but now it sounds really slow. It sounds a little bit like... And then, when you don't watch the rhythm, this is the biggest problem later on when you do... Your fingers and your bow isn't together. This is what you... I'm going to exaggerate again. Like it ends up being the left hand and the right hand end up going at different rates. Do you agree? Good. Okay. So the thing that really helps all of these problems is just to have a very steady tempo. Why does that help the left hand and the right hand come together? Well, because here's the thing, is if you have a very solid idea of how fast you can play, or how fast you should play those notes, then both arms will listen to you. In addition to that, we can add a few meeting points for both the left hand and the right hand, and that way we will really make sure that both hands play together. So let's just work on that big run at the top of page 17. Let's work on let's play a little slowly now. So very nice. Good. Now can we, only for practicing, can we add a little accent on the first note of every 4 notes? So this is what I do. I go like this. Yes, exactly. This is what we do when we're practicing to give the right hand and the left hand a meeting point. So that way, those are markers where the left hand and the right hand need to really meet. So can you try that once more, but play a little faster? Good. Try once more and even faster. Very good. Now take away the accents, but think it in your head, like as if you're going to do it, but you won't do it. Beautiful. See how now your left hand and right hand are much more together? Try it at tempo, so faster. Exactly. Try it as fast as you dare. See, that was very much together, I thought. I'm sure you dare play it even faster. Try once more until they come apart. Yes. So whenever you have a passage where your left hand and right hand are kind of coming apart, practice it with accents at very regular beats. That way you can really make sure that the left hand and right hand are together. Does that make sense? Cool. So I usually like to make an analogy about this where it's like, have you been in a fire drill before? Right? So at school or in a building when there's a fire drill, what happens during the fire drill?
Everyone leaves the building.
But not just leaves the building, right?
Yeah, they go line up outside.
They go outside and they go where? Do they just go home?
At school they go to the field and we line up.
Exactly. You line up at a specific place, right? And that way people can always know if somebody is missing. Is that right? Exactly. So these accents, when we're practicing left hand and right hand things, these are like those places of a fire drill. So those are the places where the left hand and right hand definitely check in to see if they're still on the same track. Does that make sense? Cool. Can we try, good. Can we try from, once more from there? So this is second to last line of the previous page.
Okay, I'm just gonna go turn on the light really quick.
Okay.
Okay. So, like.
Yeah. Yep. Good. Okay. So first of all, can we try to make sure those are really 30-second notes and not faster than 30-second notes? Yeah. So when the 30-second notes are very, very predictable in terms of tempo, then you won't have a right hand and left hand not meeting a problem. Because if you don't quite know the tempo, if it's a little faster than the tempo, then what ends up happening is your right hand doesn't know how fast to play and your left hand doesn't know how fast to play. So make sure that the really, really even. One last time. Yes, keep going, keep going. Yes, good. All right, so another thing here is again, I was talking about this with Sophie earlier, to have a difference of contact point for piano and forte, or piano and crescendo. So can we try that at the piano? Can you play more at the fingerboard? And a little less bow, and then as you do the crescendo, So really make a much bigger difference. Rebecca, that was an amazing difference. Can every time you play something with a piano and a crescendo and then a forte have at least that much contrast? Good. All right, let's go on. Good. Hang on, hang on. So that's a piano, right?
Oh, yep.
Yes. Good. Go on. Good. Okay. So one thing that's going to make your life a little bit easier is if you make sure that your wrist isn't underneath the neck of the violin. That way, because when your neck is underneath the neck of the violin, you end up feeling with your left hand like you are just pressing. But what the left hand should really feel like, it should feel like hammers. So can we try from the piano? Yeah, can we try just the trill? Just the... And on using your third finger, feel like it is a hammer. Yes, exactly. Yeah, okay. So the feeling should be more like, how do I put this? When you type on the keyboard on your computer, you don't type like this with every finger. Like you don't press down the keys, right? You type kind of like with your fingers really, really, really relaxed, but also fair with a lot of, like you're tapping your fingers when you're typing on the keyboard. It does not feel like you're breaking bubble wrap, right? Have you done that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun, right? Breaking bubble wrap, but breaking bubble wrap, you're like kind of pressing down until it pops. Make sure your left hand doesn't feel like you're popping bubble wrap. Make sure it feels like you're typing on a keyboard. So like this, especially on trills. So really, almost the left hand should almost feel like it's playing forte. You can almost hear it. Try that. Yeah, raise your third finger even higher and then slam it down. Yeah, keep going and keep the same kind of left hand. Yeah, that's especially helpful if you do like that. One more time, and then we'll have to end. Good. Very good, Rebecca. Rebecca, you sound really great. You have great intonation and really good sound. I love it. So what I really want more from your playing is more dynamic range. So more pianos, mezzo fortes, and then fortes. More difference between those. And then I want you to make sure that your left hand and right hand are together, which means you're going to have a more stable and predictable rhythm. And finally, what's really going to help your left hand is if you think of it more like a hammer, like you're typing on a keyboard, rather than pushing bubble wrap. That way you won't have any tension and the left hand will feel a lot easier. Great,
Okay.
bravo.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Rebecca. Boson, I love your two analogies, the bubble wrap versus typing, and then the fire drill. I'm definitely going to borrow those if that's okay with you, because those are excellent. All right. Thank you so much. So our last performer today will be Hannah, and she will be performing the first movement from Mozart's third violin concerto in G minor. G major, excuse me.
Good, bravo. Beautiful, beautiful, Hannah. Sounds really good. Whole first movement of the Mozart G major. That's quite the accomplishment. Good. Okay, so I have a little bit of a weird question for you, so please indulge me. Tell me why in your mind, and you make a hypothesis. Why do we hold the bow like this as opposed to just with our fists?
So we can move our wrist better?
Yeah, well, we can still kind of move our wrists with the
And
fist
fingers, too.
and our fingers, right? So we really want the really small movements, and we really want to use our fingers to do little, I would almost say micro adjustments, right? Good. So it's not just about how we use our hands, but also our fingers are much more sensitive to feeling what the bow feels like when we play. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so I think the thing that I think you need a little bit more of is to use your fingers to feel how your bow is playing. Just a little bit. Use all your fingers to feel if the string is vibrating. Because when you're playing, I notice sometimes that I don't feel like the bow is really kind of stuck on the string. Sometimes it does not feel like it's really making a very good contact. It's either a little too shallow, so it's not quite grabbing the string, or sometimes your string crossing isn't very smooth. And I don't think it's because of your arm or anything, but I think actually if your fingers, if you paid a little bit more attention to what your bow is telling your fingers, then you will have a smoother bow change and a more beautiful sound than you already have. So can we try once more from the very beginning?
Okay.
Good, good, very good, very good. So that first chord, can you really feel like your bow is sinking into the string? So instead of, I think that's a little bit, like it's a little bit too harsh, I think. So maybe just a little bit. Can you try that once and really feel your fingers sink into the bow? Yeah, exactly. And then also on the upper, feel how your bow comes off the string. Yes, exactly. That's already much better. And then also with the trill, use your fingers to bring out every note of the trill. Can you try that? Yes, exactly. Except for that last note, everything was much better. So if you really want a clean trill, it's not just about the left hand, it is also about the right hand, making sure that your fingers are really kind of feeling if the string is ringing or not. Good, can we continue? Good, good, good. Can we try this one more time? Just that much. Sorry, one more time, because I think my internet paused. Good, good, very good. So my question for you is this thing, is it one musical gesture, like or is it two musical gestures? Is it
One.
one? I completely agree. But we are doing two bows, correct? Right. So what we have to do as violinists is to overcome our bowing, but make sure that it sounds like one bow. So really, can you try that? Yeah, that's already better. Now let me tell you something else. So if you don't use your whole bow, then you're stuck in the middle here, and then when you do, then you're forced to do the bow change at the frog, which is not the best place to do a bow change, right? So try to use a little bit more bow on the chord and then do the bow change in the middle. So like this. So that's a much smoother bow change. Yes, exactly. Much better. Try once more using a little bit more bow on the chord. Go all the way to the tip. And then when you shift, do a faster shift with your left hand. Good. Keep going. Good. Very good. So question for you. All of this. There are 4 of these things, right? Are they all the same?
No.
I agree with you. So what would, what?
The same. They're the same like note timing, but they're not played the same.
Exactly. So some of them are stronger, some of them are softer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good. I completely agree with you. But I didn't quite hear you show me which one for you was stronger and which one for you was less. Can you show me more? So just from here, from Good, that's already better. Tell me, which one do you think is the most? Which note should be the most?
Out of all of them,
Yeah, out of all of them.
the G.
The G at the end, right? I completely agree. What would happen if you used the same exact amount of bow as all the other notes? Same exact amount of bow and same contact point and same weight. What would happen?
I think it would sound the same.
I completely agree. So if you want that to be more, then I would use a little more bow, a little closer to the bridge, and a little heavier weight. Can you try that? And then if you want a crescendo, what I would do is at the beginning, I would use a little less bow. So, and gradually more. Yeah, exactly. That's already much better. So now we're thinking about using all the tools we already have that we've already learned. We've learned how to use contact point. We've learned how to divide the bow up. So use all of these tools to help you do the musical effect that you're looking for. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's continue. Good, 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 very good. So one thing that I'm definitely not getting enough contrast on is the versus I'm definitely not getting enough forte versus piano. So can I really get a real forte and then a real piano afterwards? Yes, exactly. Very good. That's much better. And then afterwards, each of those, can you bring it out with your fingers? Including the trill. Good, good. Once more, and for each of those notes, scoop a little bit, like this, like this, like. Yeah, good. How many trills are you doing on the trill?
4, I think.
So it's good to have a rough idea of exactly what you're doing. It can't just be as fast as I can. It can't just be like that. So think a little bit. Think, I would say 4 or 2 even, but so you want to make sure that when you change bows, you're changing with the change of your fingers. So I did like that. So that your bow changes are together. Yeah, almost. The last one was a little bit not clean. One more time. Yes, exactly like that. Repeat it one more time. Exactly. Good. Continue. Good. Can we try this part one more time, a little slower? Good. So this part seems like a little bit of a finger twister. So can you lift your fingers a little higher and then plop it down like hammers? So more like this. So you almost want to hear your left hand on the fingerboard. Let's try that one more time. Good. Now let's try that a little faster, but doing the same thing with the left hand. Very good. Let's do at tempo, but that same part. Good. That's better. Let's try one more time, but really think about each finger. Exactly. So on any part, in any piece that you play, where it's a little bit of a finger twister, you really want strong fingers. And what does strong fingers mean? Strong fingers for me mean that they're more hammer-like. Like when you're typing on a keyboard, you know, your fingers go up and down, like you really almost hear them on your fingerboard. But they should not feel like you're popping bubble wrap. Have you done that?
Yes.
Yeah, you know, you kind of like press down and then you feel the bubble wrap kind of pop like that. That's the feeling we don't want when you're playing violin, especially when you're playing a very hard part. You want the left hand to feel like you're typing an email to somebody in a hurry. Can you try that one more time? So from the same thing here. So really like you're typing on a fingerboard, on the typing on a keyboard on the left hand. Exactly. Now that your left hand has worked so hard to bring out every single note, now what you need to do is then use your right hand and use your fingers to really feel like the bow is stuck in the string, so every note comes out. So instead of like this, I'm going to exaggerate, all right? You didn't do this, but I'm going to exaggerate. Sometimes I feel like you played like your hand is just moving the bow across the string, but the bow is more complicated than just moving across the string, right? You can use your fingers to almost bring out every single note. So use your right hand to bring out every single note that your left hand has worked so hard. Exactly. That's much better. Do you hear how much clearer it is?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so last thing for this little phrase is after that shift. Can you just play that shift for me? Good. So you're playing the B on second finger, right?
Yes.
Which position is that?
That's third position.
Correct. Spoken with a lot of confidence. Can your shift be equally confident? Yeah, and I would say you can even do a tiny bit slower shift. If I hear a tiny bit of slide, that's okay. Yeah, so that way your left hand is more deliberate about shifts. So what we don't want is a huge slide. We don't want to hear, we don't really want that, but the left hand needs to feel like you're doing a shift like that. So almost feel like you're shifting a little bit slower. That way you won't miss your target. Let's try one more time from Yeah, good. Let's start the whole thing from the Very good, very good. Let's go on. Good, very good. Hang on. Before you go on, what is the character here? What are you trying to go for musically?
Like very kind of dense and loud. Or like
Yes, I completely agree. So I need a bit more contact from your right hand with your fingers. Just a little bit more. Yes, that's perfect. So every time, can I get that kind of sound?
Okay.
Good. Also, hang on. We're not done yet. Where does the phrase go to?
It goes into the half notes go into the next ones, and then those go.
Yes, I agree. So the first note is not the strongest note, right?
Okay.
Is it?
No, it should be the second one.
At least the second one, if not the third note, right? Show me that difference. Almost. I need more contrast. I need more of a crescendo. That's better. And then if you really want to have the right character, I need you to shift with the same kind of character. So you said that it's kind of strong and dense. The shift should be a little faster here. Perfect. Go on. Good. Let's work on this. What is your fingering over there?
4 2 3 2 4 2.
Good. Very good. So use the time of the rest to do the shift. So don't go like this. Don't go like wait until the note and then shift. Shift. Make sure you're already shifting. Already shifting. Can you try that? Yeah, especially the one going to the A string. Shift a little bit earlier. Yes, perfect. Go on. Very good. Go on. Skip the long A. No, actually, don't skip the long A. Play it. Good, very good. So on that long A, this is one place where I really noticed the contact between your bow and the string. The long A, even though there's nothing really written in the music, but it really should go to the next phrase, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so I would make sure that the contact is very good. Can you try that? Yes! Keep going, keep going. Good. All right. So one last thing before we have to go. Just make sure that all of these, that you're using your fingers in the bow to really feel every note. Especially here. So make sure the low A really has contact. Can you try that? Yeah, keep going. Hang on. One last thing. So here, if you really want the spiccato to be good here, then actually the legato is the important part. So you really have to bring out the... And then don't change strings so fast. Good. Go ahead and finish the phrase. Hannah, sounds beautiful. Bravo.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great job, Hannah. Thank you so much, Boson. That was
Of course,
really,
thank you for
really,
having me.
yeah, it was very insightful for me. Definitely learned a lot on my end.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. It's really great to hear your students. I can tell that they all have good sound and good rhythm, all of these things. That's really great.
Great. Anna, go ahead. I think we have some questions.
Yes, we've been getting some questions, and the questions are all my favorite questions. It's all about the rhythm. Because as a pianist, when I'm working with an instrumentalist, rhythm is, I believe, our number one priority, what we're working on. So, Boson, what would be your general instruction to all of the students today and in general students, how to fix the rhythm, how to play steady?
Okay, so I think playing steady usually has two components to it. The first component is we don't even know how long the long notes are. And for that, I just have one word, and that's subdivide. So to find how many of the small notes are in the long notes, and instead of just thinking about the long note, because sometimes the long note, we don't know how long it is, right? Like if I asked you how long 1 minute was, if you were to clap only once 1 minute, you would have no idea when to clap next. But if you knew how long each second was, you'll be very close to being perfectly correct in that minute. So that's what I would say for the first component of rhythm is anytime you have a long note, subdivide it into the smaller parts that are easier to count in your head. So that's the first component. The second component usually to rhythm is kids, not just kids, everybody gets nervous sometimes. And when you get nervous, we play faster and faster and faster and faster oftentimes. So just knowing that usually helps you, and then really, really subdivide. That will really help you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I tell to my piano students.
Perfect. Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Boson, we have another question. What advice would you give to our students today and then all students watching on how to get consistent practice? I think that's a thing that we all know we have to practice, but how do we approach that consistently and do the most amount of work in the a lot of time we have per day?
Good. I think that's a great question. And it's certainly something that I struggle with as well. I think all musicians struggle with practice time. Now, I really want to stress that I think if you set yourself a goal, like, okay, today I'm going to practice 8 hours, that's not the best way. That's not the best way to think about practice time. I think the best way to think about practice time is break it down into small goals that you want to achieve. So for instance, go through the piece that you're playing. What are the places that don't sound as good as you want it to? You know, where is that shift that doesn't work? And then where is that scale that is hard to play? What is that rhythm that you haven't figured out yet? And where do you want a more beautiful sound? You know, figure out these things first. What are the problems you want to solve? And then give yourself an allotted amount of time to solve those problems. So for instance, say, okay, I'm going to spend the next 15 minutes working on this one shift. I'm going to spend the next 5 minutes getting the most beautiful sound out of this one note. I'm going to spend the next 30 minutes running through my entire program. You know, this really helps time management. And the second thing I would say is to have a consistent practice time. So it's always hard, I find, if you wake up in the morning, you're like, what am I going to do today? You're never going to think in your brain, at least I don't think in my brain, the first thing in my brain, I don't think, I'm going to go practice now. I usually think, I'm going to go eat. And then, no, maybe I'll go take a nap now. Or maybe I'll go eat some more now. No, I'm just kidding. But the first option is never, I'm going to practice. It's usually at the end of the day where it's like, I'm finally going to practice. So instead of leaving it up to chance, set a set time every day. You know, back at school, because I used to have a very consistent class schedule, I would be able to say, okay, well, every day I have class from 10 to noon, and then I have another class from 2:30 to 4:30. But then after 4:30, I can take a 30-minute nap till 5, and then I'll start practicing at 5:10 until 7, and then I'll go eat, and then maybe I'll practice from like 8 o'clock until midnight. I used to practice a lot at school, but I would always practice between those windows. So I don't even need to think about it. I don't need to feel like, I'm going to practice now. No, it's every day. It's the same time.
That's great advice. Thank you so much, Boson.
Yes, it's a good to have a routine, of course. Yes, we all stick to it very well. Alvin, any other questions that
I think that's all we have right now,
the
but I think you have
participants.
some surprises.
Yes, surprise!
Oh, amazing.
All of our participants and our amazing teacher is going to receive, and we will mail it to you. Certificates of participation and certificates of appreciation for our master teacher that joining us from Houston. So we prepared it and we will mail it to you. So thank you very much for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a great pleasure.
You're welcome, Alvin.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope everyone has a good rest of your evening. And this will be our last, for my studio anyway, the last masterclass for this calendar year. So I hope everyone stays safe and be kind to each other.